of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's start to my left with introductions.
Richard Honeywell, I guess, is that the far left, right?
Yeah.
Richard Honeywell.
Thought I'd have some fun with that one.
Dresbach Township. Retired. Have a farm. Enjoying the active lifestyle.
Shree Hales, Wascoy Township.
Margaret Walsh, I'm the city representative, and I do have farm families on both sides of my ancestors.
Phil Schwantz, farmer, Mount Vernon Township.
Okay, can I get a motion for approval of the agenda as amended?
So moved.
So moved by Richard.
Second.
Seconded by Cherie. All those in favor?
Aye.
The agenda passes. Approval of the July 19 minutes. Can I get a motion for the approval or any discussion on it?
So moved.
Cherie's moved.
Second.
Phil second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, the minutes have passed. Today we have a petition, let's see, docket BOA 16-1801. 02, I'm sorry, 01 has been canceled. 02, William Underhill, the petitioner seeks a variance for the installation of a subsurface sewage treatment system 5 feet from the property line instead of the required 10 feet pursuant to Chapter 13.6 of the Winona County Zoning Ordinance, SSTS standards adopted by reference Minnesota Rule 7080.2150, Subpart 2, Table 7. We'll have the presentation from the staff. This is the Underhill, yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank you, everybody.
Lou Overhog.
My name is Lou Overhaug. I'm a planner with Winona County, and I helped review this petition, and I'll give you a brief presentation here. If you have any questions, you can let me know, and then we'll move to the public hearing. The request involves a new wastewater treatment system for a home that's being sold. It was after analysis of the existing site, it was found that the existing system is not meeting separation in the soil to adequately treat sewage, and so a new system would need to be installed. In order to do that adequately, they found that they needed to get a little bit closer to the road right-of-way. So this is from property line setback, which is required to be 10 feet from all property lines, including road right-of-way. This one is from the road right-of-way, so it's in front of the home, fronting Dakota Valley Drive, and they're requesting 5 feet instead of the required 10. One of the aspects that we want to bring to your attention is that the property has sold and transferred since the application has been made. So I believe it was August 2nd, to the best of our knowledge, and the applicant can correct me if that's incorrect, but it was transferred after they made application before this meeting. So it's currently in another property owner's hands. That property owner has been notified. They know about the hearing and the septic system. We're moving forward with, you can go ahead and do your business today and go from there. The point of sale inspection, there wasn't actually an inspection, but it was guessed at that it was going to be not going to pass the inspection if it was done. And then after, when they went out to actually evaluate the new system, they did soil borings and verified that that existing system, in fact, did not meet the separation. So this was all coming about because of a point of sale inspection and the need to upgrade the system as a result of finding that it's out of compliance. In your packets, you have a mapping exhibit that kind of lays out the proposed system and some of the site aspects that are pertinent to the case. There's a well. Well, I'll back up just a little bit. The site is located on a sloping, kind of a toe of the bluff situation above Dakota Valley Drive. So there's steep slopes that are covering most of the property. In order to develop the site, there was a little cut and fill. I'll just approach the map here and point out this area was prepared for a building site. And so this yard area here is fairly flat, but it's been disturbed. And that's also where the well is. And the well carries a 50-foot setback in this case because it's cased over 50 feet. If it wasn't cased 50 feet, then you'd have a 100-foot setback, so you'd be out quite a bit further on the well setback. But in this case, it's 50 feet. And that takes out a lot of the flat area that's in the yard and because of the soils were disturbed, it wouldn't be a great place for a septic system anyways. The slopes up above the house here are pretty steep, and the access up there isn't great for putting in systems either. As the contractor looked at the site, he found this was the best location for both access and for treatment that he could find on the location. What's proposed is an at-grade system. At-grade systems are, I think there's a description in your staff report, but essentially you're looking at constructing a rock bed on top of the soil. A mound system would be similar, only with sand underneath it to give it a little extra lift. In this case, we didn't need that extra lift to meet the separation, so an at-grade system was adequate. And being that it's a small area, constructing it right on the surface was also beneficial. It doesn't take up as much space. What you see in the map here, the yellow area, is the absorption area of the at-grade. And that's where the setback is from, is the actual absorption area. So not the cover, the fill cover that'll cover the at-grade. It's actually the area that's designed to adhere to allow the wastewater to infiltrate into the soil. It's right below the driveway, which is sloping down towards the road on a little shelf here of native soil, and then the 5-foot setback in between the property line and the drain field. That's all I have. I'll leave the map up here. We did receive one comment. I got a phone call from a neighbor who was interested about stormwater and the impacts of stormwater on the site, and if this system would impact stormwater on her property. And in describing what was being proposed, she had no concerns. She was just looking for more information after receiving the notice, and said that she supports them replacing their septic system and didn't think that it would have any impact on her. Any questions for me?
Just out of curiosity, Lou, where's the existing system?
I believe it's in the same general area. This is an existing tank, the square one here. The circular tank is new, and that's one thing I did not mention is that what is proposed here is a HOOT pretreatment unit. So they're it's a FAST. Sorry. It's an aerobic pretreatment unit. So they're going to be treating sewage down before it goes to the drain field in order to get a separation distance in the soil that's reduced. But what that means is that there's cleaner water coming out of there than would have otherwise been coming out and going to the drain field. And this existing tank, the rectangular one, was serving the system that's there right now. So the drain field's up in this area, and I think that Jeff, when he gets up here and talks about it, can give you more information as to the location of that drain field.
Is there, if This is a slope from the driveway down to Dakota Valley Drive. Is there a reason that this drain-filled area isn't further up the slope?
Like up towards hugged up against the driveway.
Yeah, I mean, to make for that,
So Jeff's telling me that that's where the old system is, so he's putting it just below. There's also, I mean, so when you come off of the driveway, there's an embankment that's essentially fill soils that was pushed there for the driveway. That's fairly steep, couple feet down, and then there's a little bit of a natural soil there where the existing drain field is, in-ground trenches that run across here. And then Jeff is proposing to put this just below that existing
okay,
drain field and
thank you.
hugging it in there in between the right-of-way and that.
And do you leave the old tank in?
The old tank is being proposed to be used.
Now, that's a concrete tank.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yep. It's concrete. It's in good structural condition.
1,000 gallon.
What is it, Jeff? It's 1,000-gallon existing.
I only have one other general question, and it's just the approach. I've lived in different places, basically New England, and they tried to structure septic systems in such a way that 90% of the effluent, the moisture that went into them, was sucked off by the air, into the air, sublimated into the air. They seem to work quite well. Some of them have been there for 100 years. Here, we seem to think that we don't ever mention that. And I'm sitting here going through these, and I'm thinking, why don't we mention that? We have sandy soil there, gravelly, more sandy soil. Here you got this clay,
Yeah.
okay? And I doubt that much of this actually goes into the substrate. I think it is sucked off. It would be interesting. Maybe the septic tank guy, when he gets up here, would just. It's a point of question
Right.
to me.
Well, I'm not familiar with a lot of the studies that have gone into existing septic systems, but I know that there is a site, I believe in, what is the town? There's a research station, U of M research station over by Waseca, where they've been doing a lot of experiments, scientific testing on septic systems and how they work. Essentially putting them in the ground, using them, doing cross sections in the soil, taking borings, seeing how the fluent interacts with the soil and then with groundwater below. And so they've used a lot of that kind of science to in their designs, but there are different approaches from across the state of the country. Although as time goes on, even since I've been here, like when I first started, each state was doing things quite a bit differently. In the past 10 years, there's been a lot of adoption across the states that people are doing things closer to what we're doing here. It's getting more standardized across the country. But I don't know about in Maine, some of the work that they've been doing there. I'm not familiar with anything. They could have slightly different standards based on their environment.
Well, I'm 1,800 miles away, so I'm not paying much attention anymore either.
Yeah. But no, it's a good point. I mean, there is, as far as it, staying in the soil and how much, goes through the soil and then, how much is transpiration into the atmosphere, right?
I mean, pretty much everybody here is familiar with farming, and I know that here, my farm doesn't dry out until the sun shines, okay?
Or the wind blows.
Or the wind blows. So it's going into the environment. It is coming out of the soil, going vertical.
I'm sure that plays a role in septic systems as well. Pulling moisture out and keeping it in the soil. And I would say that it would have to only benefit the treatment of the soil of the wastewater.
So I'm sitting here when you're talking, and I'm looking at this, and I'm saying this is pretty much out of the trees, and it's gonna get some sun, and it's gonna get some gravitational pull, and,
Okay, can we move on?
why I'm asking
All right.
things.
Well, I will say, just to follow up, is that I think that they're designed to be able to work and treat sewage in all conditions, whether it's forested cover or areas that are not getting sun or wind. So it's they factor that in. So I mean, if you are in a sunny area, though, I mean, I guess that's just it's an extra benefit to that system. So, thank you.
Thank you. Just as a formality, I have to ask if we can get a motion here to open the public hearing.
So move.
All right. Second it. Forget who did it here, Heidi? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Just as a formality, I have to ask 3 times. We have an empty room, I think, except for the petitioner and the person putting in the sewage system. But does anyone want to speak for or against this petition? Does anybody want to speak for or against this petition? Does anyone want to speak for or against this petition? I'd like to have a motion to close the public hearing.
We're not going to give them a chance to talk.
We're going to question them after the public hearings. Normally, we don't interact in a public hearing according to the rules of parliamentary procedure, and we ask our questions after they're here. So, I mean, I know we've done it a lot of different ways, but the public hearing, we're not supposed to talk. In a public, they're just supposed to give us their comments, and then we listen. Yes?
You are allowed to inquire of the speaker during the public hearing if there's questions related to what they.
We can now. Okay, I was told to. All right.
I would just as soon leave the public
Open?
and let them speak.
All right. All right.
If they would like to.
Come to the podium, give us your name and address, and let us know.
All right, my name is Jeff Drew. I'm the owner of Septic Pros. I am the contractor and the service provider for the system. I also designed it. Basically, following the Minnesota state codes and the codes that Winona County adopted, the current system isn't adequate. So this was the only option to do a system that fits on the property, mainly because of the well setback and the geography behind the house. It's a pretty standard system. It does require a little extra maintenance, but the previous owner and the current owner are both aware of the requirements. That's pretty much about it.
So in this system, Jeff, if you were going to pump your septic, which one of these tanks, the old tank would get pumped?
Actually, all the tanks would get serviced. The main tank is the tank that primarily stores the solids. The second tank houses the aeration system and the pump system for the liquid. The aeration system is the part of the system that breaks down the liquid, cleans it, makes it cleaner. And then the pump chamber is actually the part of the system that pumps it into the drain field. So depending on the certain points of service, some or all of it is serviced.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Phil moves to close the public hearing. Second by Richard. All in favor? Public hearings, all in favor? Public hearings closed? Okay.
You're going to be on page 17, Margaret, or which one are you going on?
We have the approval criteria from the staff and the finding of facts. Are you ready to move to the finding of facts? There was no conflict in either one of those this time? Just,
I think we'll just go to that one.
okay, are you ready to go to the finding of facts without any further discussion? Okay, the variance request is in harmony with the intent and purpose of the ordinance.
Agreed.
Agreed. The variance request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Agreed.
It is.
The applicant has established that there are practical difficulties in complying with the official control and purpose to use the property in a reasonable manner. right, the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property not created by the owner of the property since enactment of the ordinance.
Correct.
Correct. I'm fine.
The variance will not alter the essential character of the locality nor substantially impair property values or the public health, safety, or welfare in the vicinity.
No, that's
We're all in
true.
agreement? Okay. Economic considerations alone do not constitute practical difficulties.
Correct.
The variance cannot be alleviated by a reasonable method other than a variance and is the minimum variance which would alleviate the practical difficulty.
It's reasonable to me.
All right. And the request is not a use variance and does not have the effect of allowing any use that is not allowed in the zoning district, permit a lower degree of flood protection than the regulatory flood protection elevation, or permit standards lower than those required by state law.
Sure.
Okay, and then we have a couple of conditions at the bottom.
You want to read those conditions, Madam Chair?
If you'd like me to. The owners of the property of which this variance is issued will abide by all representations and commitments made during the permitting process, as well as before the Board of Adjustment, to the extent they are not inconsistent with the spirit or letter of explicit conditions to the variance. And the petitioners obtain the required septic permit and comply with all relevant regulations and standards of Winona County and the state of Minnesota.
Make a motion to approve?
Phil has made a motion to approve,
I would second
second by Richard.
Does that motion include with all conditions?
with the conditions.
It does.
I hope so.
Yep.
You've made a motion with all the conditions from Phil, seconded by Richard. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The variance passes.
Congratulations.
Appeal to district court. All decisions made here by the Board of Adjustment in granting variances or in hearing appeals for any administrative order, requirement, decision, or determination shall be final except that any aggrieved person or persons or any department, board, or commission of the jurisdiction or of the state shall have the right to appeal within 30 days after receipt of the notice of the decision to the district court in the county in which the land is located on questions of law and fact. Any party that would like to submit an appeal to the decision just rendered at this public hearing must do so to the district court. The planning department is not responsible for filing appeals.
Great job.
We got a
I would so move.
motion to adjourn from
I
Richard,
would so move.
seconded by Phil. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Closed.
Great job. Congratulations.